What is the most important attribute that young men today are missing in their upbringing and that society and culture is trying to grind down in them that they must have for this fight that you were talking about against the administrative state and the Leviathan?
It's a great question. Masculinity is one of the first things that come after and trying to destroy the family. The Bolsheviks did this, then part of the French Revolution did it, and obviously the Chinese Communist Party did it. The most important aspect or virtue you can have and that you should focus on immediately is courage. And as they say, courage is the virtue on what everything else rests. And what I mean by courage, physical courage is obviously something you have to work on because it's quite easy in certain situations to become quite fearful and to have immediate reactions. So physical courage is one, but as importantly or more importantly is moral or kind of ethical courage to say, look, I understand that this path could lead to my destruction, but I have to do this. I have to commit. And I don't care if it does destroy me, that what I'm working for and what I'm fighting for and what I believe in is at another order. And yes, when I pass this I'm only here for a certain period of time. And when I pass this, I want to be able in those closing seconds of my life to say, I left it all on the field. And I think that's the number one thing is what I call in life, competitive heart, right? In dogfighting, this term called gameness came out of dogfighting, and it was about the heart and the fighting spirit of these animals, right? You have to have gameness, and gameness incorporates courage, also fighting spirit, tenacity, grit, and focus. You have gameness, you're going to go forward, and you can teach yourself that. You can do it. First off, you can use historical examples. That's why I say continue to read biographies of great men. Always read biographies of great men. Remember what the Greeks and the Romans taught themselves off of things like Plutarch, the lives of the noble Romans and Greeks, and they were always examples, and they were taught to the young people of how to compare and contrast. I think Lincoln, as brilliant as he was with his rudimentary education, I think he had the King James version of the Bible, he had the plays and sonnets of Shakespeare, and he had Plutarch's lives of the noble Romans and Greeks. That's how he basically taught himself. So you can teach yourself, you can learn this, and then you can watch by example. The other thing is to associate with people that you admire. Just don't hang out. You got it. The purpose of your life, you have to understand. In the world, I think scientists have come up, there's been roughly 100 billion people or 115 billion people. You have to ask yourself every day, why did divine providence put me here and put me now in this time and place? Why wasn't I born at another time that was more peaceful in America? And remember, like Ecclesiastes, countries and times go through changes. I would love to be here and think that we're just all going to be sunlit uplands. It's not. We're in a fight for our country's survival, okay? Think about it for a second. Of every time and place you have been born all over the world in mankind's history, you were born here and now. Divine providence had a reason for that. You have your search, your hero's journey is to find what that reason was, and then to commence your own journey.
What is something that young men now in America can reach out and do to effectuate this change that must occur for us to survive?
Well, first off, in your 20s, I think you have to go out and get as many experiences throughout the world. Don't lock yourself into any one thing in the 20s. That's what I tell people. Now, I realize today, my daughter went to West Point and served in the 101st and other units when she was deployed to Iraq and other places. I understand with the woke military, it's very different today. However, you can't, particularly if you're a young man, you cannot ever take away that military experience in your 20s. I tell people all the time, I've had the opportunity to meet the powerful and wealthy throughout the world in the United States. I don't meet one wealthy guy in the United States, when I'm talking to him that's in the 50s or 60s, doesn't say, hey, I wish I had actually gone into the service or done something along that lines. And I understand today in the woke nature of it, it's very, very difficult. For those in their 20s, get as many experiences in as many places of the world, in as many different situations. Get out of your comfort zone. Get out of your comfort zone and learn about yourself. You're only going to find out about who you really are in those situations. And what you're going to find out most important is how, what I call, fall back on yourself. Remember, in life, the house is 7-5 against all the time. Everything's a struggle. And you're going to lose a lot more than you're going to win. But you got to learn how to mitigate how bad the losses are, number one, and number two, how to build and learn. When you say wisdom, that's where it comes from. It comes from just doing enough things and understanding it's not all going to be perfect. It's not going to work out to be perfect. Wellington used to tell his young officers, and Wellington was probably the guy that trained officers the best, young men the best, and this is why he was so revered in the British Army. When he was in Spain fighting the Peninsula, in Portugal fighting the Peninsular War for many, many years against Napoleon, it was, it's a very rolling mountainous, and he would sit there and call young officers to the front to ride up to the front with him and say, I want you to tell me what's on the other side of the hill. And he would force them to think. They would say, what are you talking about? No, tell me exactly what the topography is. I want you to tell me the thing. And he forced them to think. And that's one thing I keep telling young people when we train them. Think what's over the other side of the hill. Take whatever endeavor you're doing and take time every day to think, what is downrange? What's the next 30 days? What's the next 60 days? What's the next 90? What's the next 6 months? What is on the other side of the hill? And train yourself for that. So I think in the 20s is that. When you get past that, I think whatever your profession is, if you're a patriot, remember, and people tell me all the time, hey, if I was in the revolution, I'd be at Saratoga, I would be at Yorktown, I'd be at Valley Forge. If I was in the Civil War, I'd be at Gettysburg, I'd be at Cemetery Ridge. If I was in World War II, I'd be at Guadalcanal or at Normandy. I said, hey, this is exactly what that is. It's different. It's not kinetic, and we never wanted to go kinetic, and it can't go kinetic. But warfare today is hybrid warfare. It's psychological, it's cyber, it's economic, information. And that's what the business we're in the information business. That information can be weaponized like everything else. No matter what your profession is, you have to give part of your being, part of your spirit, part of what you are, not your money. You don't need to write checks. What you need to do is commit. Once you commit, you're going to find that, it's a famous saying, once you commit, you're going to find books that are there, podcasts, people, a join an organization. I'll have so many more experiences and so much more camaraderie. I'll meet people. Just commit on something in the patriot cause, whatever it is and whatever skill set you bring, and you're going to change things, whether that's going to a school board, whether it's becoming an election poll worker, whether it's helping at a more senior level than that, whatever skill you have, whatever aspect you can put to the patriot cause, it's what's going to change things. It's the reason they hate Trump, the reason they're trying to destroy people, leaders, whether it's Tina Peters in Colorado or, O'Keefe at Veritas, with the FBI kicking down the doors. They're trying to intimidate people and say, this is what's going to happen, you're going to step forward. But what they really fear is this populist uprising. They've never had this before. They've never had people that are spending time on your podcast and listening to Jack Posobiec and doing all these other, if you go to these podcasts and the information on these sites, it's so amazing, whether it's about the virus or the mask or finance or what's going on in the Ukraine. They've never had to deal with this before. And they have an engaged population, and they have an enraged population, and they don't know what to do. And they're very heavy-handed at how they work right now. That's what you're seeing. I call this the last gasp. When you do this FBI raid in Mar-a-Lago, that's not a flex of strength. That's a plea of desperation that, hey, we've got to be able to shut this guy down and politically stop him because he's more powerful than ever, and he gets more powerful every day because people are responding to that. Even people that don't like him and don't admire him, but understand he's an instrument, right? He's an instrument they cannot stop. And that instrument right now is what we need at the forefront of this country. And so, no, I just tell everybody, you got to commit, you got to predict. Once you commit, your life is going to change, and you're going to see, and it's about action. You got to become a force multiplier, and first off, pushing out all the content, stuff like yours and War Room and others, push it all out. It doesn't cost you any money, but become a force multiplier, and then get involved at some level, get involved with some group. And it doesn't care, that could be anything from being a precinct committeeman in the Republican Party, coming in at a higher level, running for office, helping somebody run for office, or just changing your community. And we do that, we're going to win this. No, there's no doubt we're going to win. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be pleasant. It's not going to be, all sunlit uplands. It's going to be tough, and you're going to fail many more times than you succeed, right? But you have to understand that it's a process. It's a process. And in that process, I have to learn as much as possible. And the most important thing I got to learn is about myself. I have to find out about myself. I have to know myself. And in knowing myself, I then are able to then understand my dharma, my duty, my obligation, my purpose here in life. And then that's the hero's journey. And in the last seconds of your life, if you do that, you're going to be able to understand that, hey, I left it all on the field. There's no regrets. There's nothing I didn't do. There's nothing I could have done better. Boom. That if you make that the absolute target of your life, you're going to find out that your whole attitude is going to change. You're going to become much more uplifted and much more, no matter how tough things are, you're going to say, hey, I can get through this. I can see how I can do this. I can push on. And to me, that's if young men, and they don't teach that to them, in fact, they teach the opposite. They want you to be more emotional and more and more sappy. Don't. Become harder. The harder you are, the better man you're going to be, and the better you can be for your community, the better you can be for your family, etc. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Thank you for watching. Our channel is here to meme the libs until they cry, and then to meme them crying. Their tears taste like ice cream. We ridicule the establishment, and we do so because of you. Your support keeps us going. So if you liked what you saw, please click the thumbs up. Please punch, subscribe, and ring the bell to let you know when we have a new video. Don't you want us to let you know when we're live? Please check out more of our videos here and sign up for our mailing list in case something happens and the plug gets pulled. We want to be able to keep in touch with you. My name is Benny Johnson, and thank you for watching. Based Patriots, stay free.